and welcome back again to the Let Love In Live. I'm Iris Spin-Ruby, and I'm so excited to have Dr. Richard Schwartz. Welcome back.
It's good to be back, Iris. Good to see you.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on because you talk about something that no one else talks about, and it's internal family systems. So could you tell us what that really is about?
Yeah, it's the idea that we all have these different, what I call parts, which other systems call subpersonalities or ego states, and that these parts have a big role in how we operate in the outside world and also how we feel. And they can take over at times and make us do things we don't want to do, which sounds kind of creepy, almost like multiple personality disorder, but it turns out that people with that diagnosis aren't any different from all the rest of us, except that theirs got blown apart in a big way by the traumas they suffered. But we all have these, what are called alters in MPD, are really just full range personalities. And that's the way I find that all of us are. And that it's actually a good thing because one mind couldn't do and act and think in all the ways we have to simultaneously. So we have these little parts that are helping us in our lives. We're born that way, and they're all valuable. But trauma and attachment injury and difficult relationships force them out of their naturally valuable states into roles that they don't like but think are necessary for our safety. So some of them become very big protectors, and then there are others who were hurt the most by the traumas, who carry the pain or the shame or the terror. And because they now seem so hurt or so scared or so ashamed, we don't want anything to do with them anymore. And so we lock them away. Those I call exiles. And so knowing that sets up a way to relate inside that allows you, what I call yourself, to work with these parts on your own a lot of the time and teach them that they don't have to take over, that there is a you who can actually lead in a healthy way, because most of them are stuck in the past. They think you're still 5 years old when you got hurt. They don't think that there's a grown-up in there. They don't think that there's a self who can run things in a healthy way. So that's, really condensed version of the way I think about it. The nice thing is that the self I'm talking about, when parts open space for it, can heal you, can heal your parts, knows how to do that automatically, contains these great qualities like compassion and confidence and curiosity. And there are what we call the 8 C's of self-leadership. And others include courage and creativity and clarity and connectedness and so on. That person is inside of everybody, just beneath the surface of these protective parts. So when they open space, that person emerges and can lead their outside life and their internal life from that place. And that allows for much better relationships in general. Because most of us don't think of ourselves that way. We don't identify with that self. We identify with these hurt parts or these very protective parts. I think that's who we are. And so it's what many spiritual traditions call enlightenment is just that shift in identity, knowing that, no, you really are this self. You aren't these parts that people call the ego and other things. So basically, again, the principles are we're all multiple personalities. It's a good thing. They all have valuable qualities. They get forced out of their naturally valuable states by bad experiences into roles they don't like. Then they start to take over because they think they have to protect us. And they start running the ship like a parentified child, even though they're not equipped to do it. And second basic assumption is there is a self who hasn't been damaged, knows how to heal, both internally and externally, can be accessed relatively quickly simply by getting parts to open space. A lot of meditations, that's what's happening. All these protectors are relaxing and allowing you to embody self. And you feel that mindful state. It's sort of the same thing I'm talking about. But in addition to just observing your thoughts and emotions like mindfulness, you actually engage them in this healing process where you show them a lot of love and care, and then they transform, actually. It's a model of transformation. So, so just in a few minutes, that's a basic, basically what I'm talking about.
All right, so I'm going to kind of summarize. So what I'm hearing you is give us hope that underneath it all, we have this, I'm going to call it almost an intact self that has been covered with the parts of us that have been, maybe that, when we've been injured or we've had a traumatic experience. And for me, I use trauma with a capital T or a small t. Yeah. And so those parts jump in to protect us, but it's almost like we get frozen in that state at a time when we were really young and we couldn't take care of ourselves. And what you're saying is that we have an opportunity to heal ourselves and integrate those parts into a way that has us be healthy, responsive instead of reactive. Mm-hmm. And I guess the best word that comes up for me is integrated. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah. Not integrated in the sense that the parts disappear and you become just one mind. Integrated in the sense that now they feel they belong and they get along with each other. So they don't stand out in bold relief anymore. You feel much more like one person, but there are parts that are still there helping you. They're just out of their extreme roles. It's like a flock of birds. If you look at a flock of birds, it looks like one organism. But you could still pick an individual bird out of that flock and it would have autonomy. So that's the metaphor we use a lot.
Okay, and the visual that came up for me is like having this puzzle and you're getting some of those pieces together and there's a few pieces that no matter how you turn it, they don't seem to fit into this picture. And what I'm hearing is when you do the healing, that all those parts come together into a beautiful puzzle picture.
Yeah, I might use that metaphor. That's great.
Go ahead, you can use it. So can you maybe give us an example? I guess a couple things. What are some of those parts so that maybe people can start to recognize them? And also, how does that show up when you're out there dating, single, looking for someone?
Yeah, so it's been a while, but I remember when I was dating, and between marriages, I was dating for about 5 years, and I remember the parts of me that would be up. There would be parts that were afraid of rejection, of course, and worried about how I was going to come across, and parts that were at times desperate to not be alone, and would want me to settle just to be taken care of, because like many men, I'm not good at taking care of myself by myself. And then parts that were very critical of me, in the sense that almost to protect me, they would run down my confidence so I wouldn't take any risks. And let me just think. And then there were these very young parts of me that had been hurt in earlier relationships, and they were very reluctant to really get close to somebody again, and so would try to pull me away at certain points. Or there was a part of me that if I did get close to somebody, would start to see the flaws in that person. Their flaws would suddenly loom very much larger than they had when I was initially seeing them. And then there were parts that could sort of wipe away red flags and get totally infatuated with somebody if they fit a certain profile. So anyway, just to speak personally, that was a mess.
Well, I was going to say that really excites me because I can even, looking at my own life and my last relationship that ended, that part of me, that settling part of me that wanted to say, oh, come on, he's a good guy. He takes good care of you. You
Right.
should just be happy with that. And really, the other part of me that knew that we weren't in alignment, that our values, where we were moving towards, wasn't in alignment, and having those two pieces conflict.
Yeah.
So I would love to do, if you're willing to do maybe a mini session to kind of look at those.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Happy to do it, Iris. So, which of those two do you want to start with?
um, I think okay, settling, not in alignment. I think maybe I think what would be most valuable, maybe for a lot of women or whoever's watching this, is the part of me that's afraid of rejection, the part that's afraid of being vulnerable.
Perfect. You ready?
I am. I'm not sure, but I am.
Okay. All right. So just go ahead and focus on that fear of being vulnerable and being rejected and find it in your body or around your body.
Oh, it's there.
Where do you find it?
It's between my solar plexus all the way up through my throat.
Okay. And as you notice it there, how do you feel toward it? In other words, do you hate it or you fear it or
It creates panic inside of me. It's this state of like heightened alertness.
yeah. So how do you feel toward it as you notice that?
I feel like I should be evolved enough that I shouldn't fear or feel this way.
Okay. So there's another part that says it's critical of you for having that panic
Yes.
and doesn't and tries to stuff it down or tries to avoid it somehow.
Yeah, it tries to push it away. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't need this. You're fine. Get over it. You do have
Right.
skills. But all the
Right.
stuff that's going in my head, but doesn't really come from here because this part takes charge of like
Yeah.
panic.
Okay. All right. So let that one know we get that it really thinks this other one isn't great for you. But if it allows us, if it gives us the space, we can actually help this panic part in a different way that'll actually work. Because it probably will admit that its methods haven't worked that well.
All right, so I've just asked it permission to just sit on the side for a moment. And if
Perfect.
after this exercise, it needs to come back in, that it has permission to come back in.
Perfect. Is it willing to do that?
Yes.
Then focus again on this panic part and tell me how you feel toward it now.
I'm still afraid of it.
Yeah. Is that the same one or is it a different part that's afraid of it? Or what's the fear of it now?
Maybe it's more that the panic is the fear.
Yeah. So
It
just check. Is the fear coming from the panic
is.
and you're feeling it more now?
Yes.
Okay. And as you notice that, how do you feel toward it?
And maybe this is another part, but there's a part of me that just wants to go in and hold it like a baby. And
No, that's probably yourself. So let's just do that. So just tell me when you can do that for this part.
okay, I'm there.
And how's the part reacting to your being there?
Well, there's a shift in the visual in that it's shifted to this tiny, tiny little baby that's all swaddled.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that the tension or the intensity has gone down,
Good.
not gone.
That's okay. So just hold it for a while. Just let it know it's not alone anymore, that you care about it. We're just going to do that until it relaxes into that and it starts to trust you.
feels like the tension has spread like all the way up through my head and my arms, but the intensity is much, much lower.
Yeah, so it's kind of giving you what it's feeling, which is a good thing. This is part of the witnessing. So just let it know you get how tense it is. And you can see if there's anything else it wants you to know about itself. And don't think of the answer. Wait for an answer to come from it. And if it doesn't say anything, that's fine.
Yeah, it's saying, just hold me. And you can see my hands are like this. I'm like holding a baby, and then
Right.
I've just done
Right.
to swaddle that part of me that needs to be held.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's just do that for a little longer.
Yeah, I can feel the breathing out, the relaxation,
Yeah.
the release of the panic and the tension I've been feeling in that part of myself.
Right. So just let it know it's not alone anymore. You're with it. You're going to be taking care of it now. It's safe. You're not going to let that other part attack it anymore. And you're sorry you let that happen.
It's interesting in that I feel like the tingling has expanded, and
Mm-hmm.
that this baby that I'm holding up against my chest, there is no barrier between me and baby. It's become
Mm-hmm.
integrated.
Uh-huh.
As you know, there's still kind of a bump up out here, but
Yeah.
it's become part of me.
That's really great.
Mhm.
Now we could take another step in healing it. I'm just trying to check and see if we have enough time. I think it's worth a try.
Sure.
So as you hold it that way, ask it to let you know what happened in the past to make it feel this way. And just wait and see what comes to you. Don't try and think of anything.
I mean, before you even finished your sentence, what came up for me was I moved to France when I was 8 years old, and standing all in line, I went to grade 1 for 2 months, and then grade 2 for 2 months, and finally to grade 3. But in grade 2, we were all standing in line, girls' school, and the girl behind me pushed me, and
Mhm.
domino effect, and the teacher turned around and knew it was me, came towards me, pulled me by my pigtail till the end of the line, and I was trying in my non-existent French to try and say it wasn't me, and I couldn't find the words, and she said, bad girls stay to the end of the line till the end of the year, and I couldn't protect myself in those days.
Wow, that's fantastic. So as you see that 8-year-old, how do you feel toward her?
Like I want to hold her as well, the way I'm holding this baby.
Yeah, so let's do that too. In fact, if you can, see if you can go into that scene and be with her in the way she needed somebody. And tell me when you're in there with her.
Oh, I'm in there.
And you're holding her?
Yeah, right now I'm crouching down in front of her and caressing her face, and I'm at her eye level and telling her no. I'm letting her know that she's valuable and that I'm here with her, even though she's experienced that she can count on me to be there with her and hold her hand through the whole thing.
That's perfect. Yeah. And as you're there with her, see if there's anything she wants you to do with her or for her back there.
She says, just hold me, and she runs into my arm and my chest, and I envelop her.
That's great. And you can see if she is ready to leave that time and place with you, or if there's something else she needs back there first.
She actually wants to turn around and yell at the teacher and wag her finger and tell
Yeah.
the teacher how bad she's been.
So you help her do that. You be with her while she does that.
So what I just witnessed, I was trying to figure out different positions, like holding her, putting her on the side, and finally we decided on me on my knees with my arm around her,
Mhm.
and her yelling at the teacher,
Mhm.
and the girl who pushed me, and then standing with her, her fists on her hips and going, so there, I had my say. And it's just feeling very like, okay, I got some power out of it. I
That's
got
good.
to say my piece.
That's fantastic. And now see if she's ready to leave with you to a good, safe place.
Yeah, she's fine. She's jumped in my arms, and as long as I'm willing to hold her, she's willing to
Mhm.
leave.
Okay, good. So let's take her and the baby someplace safe and comfortable they'd enjoy. They can pick where they want to go. Could be in the present, could be a fantasy place, could be another time in your life.
What jumps up for me is a crib in a very kind of plush room that's very comfortable and safe and has light. And just the word that jumps up for me is just safe.
That's great. So they're both there?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And
And
sorry, let me just say, my 8-year-old is actually caressing the baby.
that's perfect. But ask them both if they're ready now to unload the feelings and beliefs they got from that time.
All right, so the baby right away was very passive and okay with it. The 8-year-old was started to get some energy and yelled at the teacher again and wanted to have a tantrum and then just started to giggle and say, okay, fine.
That's great. So we'll start with the 8-year-old and ask it where it carries all that in its body, in her body or on her body. Ask where she carries all these emotions and beliefs that she got back there.
Can't really find a spot. There's some energy that goes down the back of her body and then up to her tummy.
Okay,
Kind of the wave.
that's perfect. So ask what you'd like to give that up to: light, water, fire, wind, earth, or anything else.
She'd like to give it up to the air and disperse the molecules into tiny, almost non-perceptible,
Mhm.
perceivable atoms.
Okay, so tell her to do that, to let it all off her body or out of her body, and just let it disperse that way.
So I feel a little stuck now because when you said that, I went to me releasing it, and it's all of a sudden I've gotten some energy inside of me.
Hmm. So just go back to her. We're just going to focus on her releasing it. So just see if she's released that yet, or if she still carries it.
It's funny because that energy is her safety.
Okay, so she's reluctant to give it up.
Yes.
So tell her she doesn't have to today. That, after a period of time where she trusts that she's safe and she never has to go back to that scene, she might be willing to give it up. But
She just gave it up, just knowing she doesn't have to. She just gave it up.
okay, okay, good. That's great. And then let's go to the baby
Mhm.
and ask what she carries in her body or on her body that doesn't belong to her.
Hmm. There's just the side of her head and the neck and the shoulder. That's kind of where she carries it.
Okay. Ask if she's ready to unload it too.
It's interesting because I see almost this like helmet of energy just fall off, and
Mhm.
like the baby's face becomes bright and open-eyed and excited, and there's like a sense of freedom.
That's great. And tell both of them now, if they want to, they can invite into their bodies qualities they'll need in the future. And you can see what comes into them.
A whole bunch of words came up: confidence, standing up for themselves, a sense of security and trust that everything will be fine.
That's great. All right, so the last step is to bring in that part that we met first, who didn't like the fear and thought you should grow up and not feel that way. And just have it check this out and see how different these two parts are. And just see how it reacts.
Yeah, it's reaction. It's more like, yeah, I see the change. Fine.
Okay. And maybe it can think about a new role now that it doesn't have to protect these parts.
I think it's a masculine part. I think what he wants to do is just to have the right to sit back way in the background and be there whenever Iris, the adult, needs someone to come and protect her.
Okay, great. How's that sound?
Sounds great. I feel a lot of freedom. I certainly don't feel any of that energy anymore. So happiness and excitement.
Great. So thank your parts for letting us do all this. This was a huge amount of work in about 20 minutes.
And actually my reaction to that is that this has been really fun. I feel so much freedom from it.
Yeah, it's great. And so come on back. And then now that you're back, think again about that rejection fear and just see how it feels now.
Right now it's much smaller inside, but it's more like a warmth down here, down my throat and my chest. It's not this panic high alert.
Okay, that's great. Okay. So yeah, that was amazingly fast because you have a lot of self right there. We didn't have to go through a lot to help you access self, but it was a great illustration of what I was saying, because most of it you did yourself. I just kind of gave you a few pieces of guidance, and then you would take over and you knew how to heal these parts. So
can you do a summary of kind of what happened here? You know, how it started, where we went to, and what's available for people as they experience the internal family systems process?
Yeah, so you wanted to work with this rejection feeling and the fear, which in my language is likely it was an exile, and it turned out to be an exile. So it's a part that was, because of this experience when you were 8, felt humiliation and all the other kinds of feelings in that scene. And then you locked it away, or you got this other protector who tried to keep you away from it. So we started with the exile, which was the baby at first, and then this other part who keeps trying to keep you away from it by telling you, you should be better than that, you're grown up, you're an adult now, so just ignore that. And so then we had to go to that part and get its permission to work with the one, get it to step away so you could work with the one who felt so scared, the exile. And it, with some grumbling, was willing to step out, and immediately you wanted to go hold that little baby. So then I knew your self was there, because you had that natural compassion that self carries. And so you went to the baby, you held it, and then once it trusted you, I had you ask where it was stuck in the past. And that's when you saw the scene of the 8-year-old. And that turned out to be a separate exile, a different part. So I had you do both of them, where you would witness what happened and then enter the scene and then take them out to a safe place. And that's what we call retrieval. And then once these parts feel safe, they're willing to unload all the feelings and beliefs they got from those times. And if you, and I really encourage you to do this, if you check with them every day for about a month and make sure they're still feeling good and in a good place, then all this will stick and you won't have that fear of rejection anymore.
Wow, I love this. Every time I interview you, we get to work on another piece of me. So this is great. And every time I'm getting that experience of more and more freedom. And so I'm going to make the commitment that from today for another 30 days, it'll be in my calendar that I'm going to check in with those parts in my commitment to keep them free of that frozenness
Yeah.
of panic.
Yeah.
I can just even feel the freedom that I have even as I'm about to step out of my home.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sorry that happened to you. What a horrible experience to knock down all the kids and have the teacher come and call you out. My God. You couldn't even speak the language.
Thank you for your compassion. And I also want to invite our viewers, Dr. Schwartz has given you each a free gift. Make sure right below this video that you click on the free gift and take advantage of it. This work is magnificent. It can give you freedom. You've seen me go through it, today and several times before, and that you can achieve the freedom that you have from those parts in you that have either been wounded or traumatized or frozen, so that you can have the freedom that I'm experiencing today. And with this, Dr. Schwartz, I want to say thank you so much for the gift that you are in the world, for the difference that you make in my life, and the difference you make in the people that you've touched.
Thank you, Iris. It's always a pleasure, and thanks for your courage to be so vulnerable.